In this video, we're gonna talk about setting up a 3D pipeline in TouchDesigner. A very basic one. We will start from the beginning. For that purpose, we will create another base, and we will call it basic intro 3D. Okay, we go into it by pressing enter, and then we will use sub. We will start with the sphere, and then we will go to add a null. This actually we want to push forward and move that into a geometry. So in compositions you have geometry, and so then you see that you have this object into a 3D space where you can actually attach different things. So one of them is a light, and of course we also need a camera, and then we would need action, but that is called a render top in TouchDesigner. And if everything goes as planned, we have right now a 2D visualization of our 3D object. So this is actually 3D surface operator, the subs. Then we move that into a geometry. We added a camera, a light, then a render. So in the sphere, we can change the radius a little bit, so 0.5 would be good. We have this null, and we have the geo. In geo, you can also translate, rotate the 3D object. Then in light, you basically can do whatever a light does, but we can give it a little bit of color, like this. We can also move it when we activate it. So right now we see that we have positioned it a little bit like this. And then we can do another one. So we copy and paste the light. I will just do one on the other side with a slightly different color. So we have this set up. And then the camera can also move. Of course, you can go closer or further. But we don't want to put it at 0, 0, 0, because then we are inside the sphere. A kind of nice thing that we can do is insert an operator here by selecting or by hovering over the connection and say, okay, we want to have insert something. We will insert noise, so then we have this kind of image. I think the noise is a little bit too harsh, so we can decrease the amplitude like so. And if we want to optimize a little bit, we can go to the sphere. Instead of, we can say, okay, we want NURBS instead of a mesh, or want a polygon, or want a Bezier. For now, NURBS would do good, and we can lower. See, we can lower the columns and the rows. So actually, do like this. This more of a cube than a sphere, but like something in between would be good. Okay, what you can do right now is go to the lights. You can say, okay, we want shadows as well, a little bit, and I think the lights are a little bit too in your face, so maybe decrease the intensity, like so. And then we can attach materials to it. So to this geo, you can add materials to it in the render tab of the geometry. And then we can go to the mod. We will add a constant, and I will hold on shift, a line, a phone, and a wireframe. And then we also will select the switch. Then we want to connect these all to the switch, so we select the first one. With tab we select the other ones, and then we drag from the first one and we can attach that to the switch. I'll put them a little bit closer. Then we want to add a null, and we can add the null to the geo. And we see what the constant does. The constant actually makes everything just the color that we put in the constant. And we can do the lines. You see some nice lines. We can do a phone. Phone can introduce like shininess, amongst other things. And then we have a wireframe. I think for most of the things we don't have that much options, so we can. I think the most interesting that I want to talk about right now is the phone, because there we can change the specular colors, and we can say okay, we want it to be a lot more shiny, so now you see it here, and in a specific color. You can also say okay, I don't want to have it diffuse or just a lot, depends on what you actually want. We can have alpha maps, which we don't cover right now. We can have less or more shadow. The shadow color can also be some kind of bluish. So that's all what we can do with materials. And then one last thing is that we can also make use of the instancing in TouchDesigner, and actually that is pretty nice. So we can put this on, and now we can create copies or clones of this geo within this container. To reach that effect, we can go to a sub. I will search for a box, which is a cube, and if we activate it and click inside of it and we press W, then we can switch between wireframe and the original view. So we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 versions of this geo. I will create a null, and then I can actually move that over to a sub. So right now we have these points, and you see, okay, these are all different points that we can use, and we can use this one as data for our instancing. So we drag and drop it here. So this is now connected to the null, and then we can say tx, ty, and tz. And so now you see that we have multiple elements there. The only problem is that our sphere is a little bit too big, so actually we will introduce another transform here and scale it a little bit down. So now we have actually elements at the corners of our sphere, of our cube. And if we want to have more or like other things, we can use division so we have more of the same copies. Or we can actually introduce a sphere here as well. And then we see that we have a sphere full of like clones of that element, which is quite cool. So if we want to lower the details, we'll see that we have only on the edges or on the points we can have that. What we can also do is introduce noise here, which doesn't work as I intended, but we can say, okay, we want noise, and then we could actually combine this with something with this one, but then we need to account for like that this has 600 let's see 600 samples, and that the above only has 60. So now I aligned them. You can do that automatically as well, but now we want to have a select, and so we want to select the X, the Y, and here we want to only select TZ, and then we can combine them. So add, or we want to have them actually merge. Okay. And I can change the channel name here to TZ. And I don't need to merge them, I need to merge this later. So I actually want to combine them. So now we combined them, and now we can merge them, this and this, and so now if we add this, let's quickly see because I created a whole mess here. Okay, so we start so actually we have tx, ty, and tz, and tz is actually the noise function here, and we could actually have this move by introducing a abs time per second. It's a kind of expression here. So now they should also be moving. And now they will move faster. So that is kind of how you make a 3D layout. And then we can introduce an out again. And now we have our two projects, one for from the last time, the introduction of tops and chops, and one for the 3D. Thank you for watching.